All right, so sorry guys. Apparently my phone died there. The last swatch I did was this Carcos Orange. And I was just saying this is a nice kind of everyday basic orange. And then I got out the Next ink from Ferris Wheel Press and realized my phone had died. So you're plugged in now. We should be all good to go. In fact, I'm going to make sure I'm recording. Yep. Okay. This is a nice gold color. When I do golds, I tend to, I've had it open for a minute, so I'm going to close it. See all of that sparkle and sheen. We want to make sure that gets mixed back in again. When I do yellows, I tend to prefer a more gold yellow with a little bit more brown in it to just a plain yellow. I find plain yellows to be way too subtle to write with. This is pretty subtle for me. I don't love the yellows, but this is a very pretty yellow as far as yellows go. So, oops, I do need to leave it open so that I can write. I'm all discombobulated after noticing the camera wasn't running. Had no idea how much I had missed. Fortunately, it wasn't much. But you see, as I'm writing this, you can still read the writing, which is nice and something that is kind of hard with most yellows. This one is called Plated Gold Tress. And hopefully you can see that even without going over that, you can still read that, which is rare for a yellow, to still be able to read that writing. But it does have some sparkle to it, some sheen going on. It is a nice yellow. Again, it does have a bit more gold to it than yellow. That tends to be my preference. I'm not sure I have a straight plain yellow in my collection. I might, but I don't know if I do. I'm not a huge fan of yellow to begin with, and I also like to be able to see my inks, so that tends not to be one of my favorite colors to use. So we will go on to the next color, which I don't know if you can see that gold sparkle in there. That is really pretty as far as yellows go. This next color we have here is Majestic Maple Syrup, which is a very fun color. This is a tan, and as its name suggests, is supposed to look like maple syrup. So if you'll notice the subtlety to that, again, I tend to, at least for writing, I don't really like subtle as much, because I want to be able to read what I'm writing. So I can read this, but it's very faint. And I like bold writing, especially as I get older. My eyes aren't what they used to be, and these fainter colors, as pretty as they are hard to see sometimes. I also have a small sample of this that you'll see in a minute. The sample came in a sample pack. I try not to get samples of things that I'm considering in full size or that I'm going to get in a full size, because you just end up with too much ink at the end of the day. But I did end up, it was part of a pack that was free, and so I did end up with this in a sample size as well. It's a nice color. It would be good for watercoloring in this kind of lighter vein if you're not layering it. When you do layer it, then you get that nice variation of color. So it is a nice color. There's a lot of different things that you can do with fountain pen inks. You don't just have to write with them in a fountain pen. So you'll probably notice I have brought up watercolor quite a bit. That is one of the things that you can do with inks, is watercolor with them. So this is a nice tan, and it is different than the Forgotten Iced Coffee tan. It's got a lot more yellow to it than the Coffee Monster Co. Tan. But speaking of the Coffee Monster Co., we are going to get into another one of the Robert Oster Coffee Monster Co. collaborations. This is Coffee Monster Color. And again, this happened before the Esterbrook fountain pen collaboration. And this is just a really nice brown color. You can get some nice dark depth of color to that with a little bit of layering. This is Robert Oster. Coffee Monsters Co. And the color is Coffee Monster. This ink has a lot of variation when you write, which is nice, but it doesn't have a lot of like sheen or shading to it, which is fantastic. It means that it's going to be a good ink for both women and men who might not want to be quite so sparkly. Plus it's got a very cute little emoji on it. All of us who like the Coffee Monsters Co. like those little emojis. It gets quite dark around the edges, which is really lovely. I like the way it's doing that with the coloring. Even though it doesn't have, you know, any of those additives to it to give it that sheen, it just does still have quite a bit of depth to it, which is nice. All right, we are nearing the end, I believe, as we are getting into the reds, and then I have a few samples, smaller sizes. This is Song of Scarlet. This is a very pretty red. I have some quite nice reds from Ferris Wheel Press. I in fact love every single red that I have from them. I think that's one of the colors they do very, very well. And this Song of Scarlet is a great example of it. This is a very rich, deep red. I got this because my partner was looking for, as I said, a red that did not have sparkles and colors and all kinds of other things going on with it. He just wanted a solid red. And this one I thought was a fantastic, just kind of plain red. Unfortunately, he said it was a little too burgundy for him. And it does have these streaks that you're just seeing show up now of blue or purple or something going on with it. And so he ended up not loving it, but that's all right because I love it. And so I'll use it, and I got him something else, which you'll see here in a minute. This is Song of Scarlet. Just one T. It's Song of Scarlet. All right. So, in my attempt to get a very plain red, which is what I was trying to find for him, I managed to get something with the most amazing range of colors. I absolutely love it. So I will pick this up here in a minute, and hopefully you guys can see this through the camera. I'm not sure how well this is going to translate, but there's almost a rainbow in there. You've got some greens and golds and these blues and purples that are coming through in there. It is just color on top of color on top of color, and the more it dries, the more those different colors just come through and start to absolutely sing and shine. So this is actually has become one of my favorite colors, which I totally got by accident. So very happy accident there. But that is Song of Scarlet by Ferris Wheel Press. Next up, we have Bordeaux. This is the fanciest name that Carcos has given one of their inks. This works all right as a red. It's fine, but it was a little bit on the maroon side, or I don't know, it wasn't a bright enough red for my partner when he was looking for a red. He wanted something that was more red, if that makes sense. We have that little eye is not going to show up here, so I'm going to give it just a little dab. There we go, just to bring out that eye. So this is kind of a deep red. These Carcos inks, I believe I got in a set of 4. So you can have all 4 colors together. And they have many more. My suggestion when you start with fountain pens, if you're just getting started and you're watching this for an idea of some colors that you might want to get started with, my best suggestion is to start with colors that you use in regular everyday pens. You know, if you don't use purple in your everyday writing, then you're going to be very sad if you only have one fountain pen and it has purple ink in it, because you're always going to be wishing you had a different color. So start with colors that you use every day, maybe the blues, the blacks, reds. Maybe go with something that is maybe a little bit on the purple side, but still really looks black unless you look closely at it. And then eventually work your way into some of these more colorful with this great depth of color going on. You know, they serve very different purposes. When you have a lot of different fountain pens and a lot of different pen accessories, something like this becomes a lot more realistic for you. Whereas when you're just starting out and maybe you only have 1 pen or 2 pens and you need a good red, something like this is just fine and is going to serve you really, really well without costing you a lot of money. This is the red that my partner ended up liking. This Diatramentis document ink, again with the document ink. The document inks tend to be the truest to, you know, a true, this is closest I think to a true red. Although I think, in my opinion, that it has a bit of orange to it. But when you're writing, this is probably the closest to like a red pen that you're used to a teacher using. In his line of work, he works as an engineer, and so they're redlining drawings. And they're used to having kind of this particular red color. And so switching it up and trying to give him more of a burgundy, like this Carcos, didn't work real well for him. That was a bit too off and not the right color for what he was looking for. So fortunately, we found him one that he likes. And also, fortunately, it's a document ink, so again, it's got that water resistant feature to it. So this is document red. It's nice to build up a good assortment of these water resistant inks for everyday use. I enjoy having them on hand. There we go. And this is my largest bottle of Ferris wheel press. So you know, we've talked about it coming in the tiny bottles that are 20, and then the larger bottles are 38. And then this one is an 85 milliliter. So this is, you know, quite large and very fancy. We have a nice little velvet bag that it comes in. And this is going to be another circular ink. This is Candy Marsala, which is again a favorite of mine, and I think it still does kind of fit on this little ink device or ink holder, but it's also large enough and stable enough to just sit here on the desk. The other ones will sit fine too. You don't need to have those holders. They're just kind of fun. You start to get, as it becomes more of an obsession than a hobby, you'll start to accumulate quite a lot of things that make it more fun. This is kind of a brownish red, and I absolutely love this color. It has some green to it when it dries, so you might not be seeing it now, but it'll start to come through as it dries, especially around the areas there where there's a little bit of buildup. And especially in the writing, I notice it in the writing a lot. This was another ink that I got in the search for the perfect red, but as you can see when you're writing with it, it really doesn't look red. It's almost black. It's just very dark color. I don't know if you can see, on the bottom of that L, you can start to kind of see the green. You can see the green kind of coming through in here. It's a really nice Christmas color because it does go kind of well with other Christmas colors. This was another red that I got on my hunt for the perfect red. And there was a deal on this larger bottle. I usually don't get bottles quite this large because it's going to take me a lifetime probably to go through this. But it was a great deal, and it's such a pretty package. It's the only ink that I have that comes in velvet. It makes it feel very special to use it. So I definitely enjoy that. There we go. And just such a pretty package. Their packaging in general is all really, really pretty, but this just blows everything out of the water. Then our very final inks are going to be these. This is a sample pack from Ferris Wheel Press. A couple of these I think I've already swatched for you, so we won't do all of them. We won't do any of the ones that we've already done. But they have these very cute little sample inks. This particular pack didn't survive real well, so I don't know if I can swatch it, actually. This is the Majestic Maple Syrup, so we definitely do not need to be swatching that. We already have. And this is Cabernet on the Lake, which it looks like I'm not going to get to swatch because it has all either dried up or leaked. And then this one is Hampton Harbor Sage. It looks like I can still go ahead and swatch this one. I'm kind of sad that those other inks have not made it, but that happens sometimes. Kind of clean up this bottle just a little bit. Goodness. All of that purple, that's from that Cabernet on the Lake. So I can show you here. I did swatch it right down here. And it was Cabernet on the Lake, and then the Hampton Harbor Sage is this one here. So let's go ahead and swatch this before this spills, and I don't even have this one available. Goodness. This is a very light green. I know it looks like it's going to be real dark, but once you get it on here, it is not a dark green at all. Goodness. Very, very subtle. I'm going to have to tilt this a little bit in order to be able to get enough ink to write. What did I say this was? Hampton Harbor Sage. There we go. All right. Well, at least I've got a nice swatch card of that. Hopefully I can keep this sample nice for a little while longer. Cabernet on the Lake was a very nice, pretty red. with some purple in it. So I'm a little sad to not have that sample anymore, but at least it didn't leak outside of the package. All the leakage happened inside the package, which is good. These little sample packs that they have a nice magnet closure. So you get it close and it just seals like that. And I usually keep them vertical, so it's possible that the leakage happened during the move. Maybe they didn't end up vertical while I moved, but I do store them vertically. Let's see how this package seemed to fare just fine. Oh, and look at that pretty sparkle there in that Hampton Harbor sage. Can you see that? Well, I'm glad at least that one survived. My hands have about had it here. Let's see if we can't get a cleaner spot on the, there we go. So we've got 3 here. We have got definitely peachy. They only say on the bottom here what they are, and then you have to know kind of what you ordered, because it does not say anywhere else on the packaging what those colors are. The only reason that I know right now is because I have swatched them over here, and I know that those are these 3 that we're going to look at next. So I know this is definitely peachy. Definitely. So here we go. It's another reason why you want to keep these little rubber pieces on. Clearly it helped during the move. I'm going to put this on more solid ground. So this is a very, very light, very subtle peach color. It's probably going to be very hard to write this with this. I was not compelled to get a full bottle of this because it is so light, and you've heard me say throughout this, I don't love the light colors. I have to keep going back, even I'm only getting a couple letters before I have to go back and dip again just to be able to see it, to get that depth of color. But again, as I've said before, this would be a great color for watercoloring because you can layer it and build it up very nice and slowly. It's very subtle. It's got a very subtle shading to it. So fantastic for watercolors. Maybe not your best everyday writing ink, but it certainly has a use in some way in your supplies. This one is 3 Steamboats. This is going to be another very subtle color. All 3 of these are, well, I guess the peach and the blue are the 2 that are really subtle. Actually, I don't think it has a lot of shimmer or sparkle to it, but just in case. and for me this is a little bit too light. And I do have a darker blue that is somewhat similar to this. Well, I have so many blues that I don't find myself pulling this out often. I've only used it twice since I got it. All right, there we go. And our very last ink is going to be double raspberry. So I thought I had a lot of inks, but this is a 50 pack of cards and I still have several cards left. So maybe I don't have as many inks as I thought. Must mean there's room for some more. I think that's what that means. All right, this is going to be a very vibrant raspberry pink. What a great color to end with. This is vibrant and bright and I love it, and I have forgotten that I have it. So now that I remember, I'm gonna have to find a way to use this color because I love it. It does have some variation of color, especially with the dip pens. You get a lot more variation of color with these dip pens sometimes than you do with some of the regular fountain pens. There we go. A lot of times Ferris Wheel Press will run deals where you can get some of these little sample packs for free with a purchase, with whatever their minimum purchase is for that particular sale. If they offer it, I always recommend getting it because it's always nice to try some new inks and try and find one that has colors that you maybe don't use as often. Especially this one here. These three colors are not necessarily colors that I'm reaching for all the time, but it's nice to have them in my collection, and if I do ever find that I need them, I have just enough to do several projects with them and really get some full enjoyment out of those colors. All right, so as requested, that is a breakdown of all of my inks that I have on hand. I am going to go ahead and lay out all these cards, and then I'll take a picture for the thumbnail. So if you want to stick around and watch, great. Otherwise, I'm going to try and kind of organize them by color a little bit. See if I can't. I just love that. Do you see that color in there? Look at that blue and that green within the red. It is just so pretty. Oh, goodness. I'm going to want to play with these now. Let's see if we can't get all of our greens. And some yellows, our browns. Actually, let's put this here. And there we go. That makes sense. Put all of our blacks here along the top. If you're sticking around for this organizing, you are a real trooper. I am not doing a whole lot of sorting other than just general colors here. I think I'm going to run out of room. I'm going to have to move this over a little bit. Actually, maybe I can put these two blacks over here. This is quite the undertaking. If you have fountain pen inks and you think of it, to swatch them as you go, it saves having to do a big project like this. It's definitely quite the undertaking. But it was very fun to get to see all the fountain pen inks again and talk about them a little bit with you, and hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. And if not, hopefully you clicked off a long time ago and you're no longer listening to me ramble. I'm gonna do these kind of blues in the middle here. There we go. All right. Well, I think I have gotten all of them placed where I want them. And I will be taking a thumbnail of this so that you can see it all. But thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you. I'm definitely going to need to go and wash my hands very thoroughly to get all of this off. But I certainly enjoyed getting a chance to ink all of these with you. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much. Oops.